All right, everybody. My name is Robin Garrett Stade. I'm Senior Cybersecurity Governance Risk and Control Manager here at BECU. We want to welcome you to Cybersecurity Month. And I want to say it's easy to stay safe online. Remember that. It is easy to stay safe online. You just have to pay attention to what you are doing. All right. And with that short verbiage, I put a link in the chat so that if you're a member of BECU, you can get to our cybersecurity awareness page, public page, and you'll find a lot of good information and content to help get you into the groove of cybersecurity. And just remember, cybersecurity is not just a month, it is all year round. You'll find good content to read as well as recordings. At this time, though, I would like to go ahead and introduce Mr. Sean Murphy. He is our Senior Vice President and Chief Information Security Officer here at BECU, and we affectionately call him the CISO. Sean, go ahead and take it away.
That's funny. Affectionately, okay, I don't know, but thank you, Robin. I really appreciate that intro, and I appreciate the concept of making it easy to stay safe online because that is something that at BECU we really try to do in support of our membership. But I want to welcome you to one of our first National Cybersecurity Awareness Month events here at BECU. As the Chief Information Security Officer, my focus every day is on safeguarding our members' information and protecting our organization from cyber harm. This type of event is one of the most enjoyable and wonderful things I get to do, and I am really glad that you joined us today. And we have a terrific event ahead of us. A celebrated, award winning, and consumer protection expert with a distinguished career spanning over 40 years, Herb Weisbaum, the consumer man, is here today. Herb needs no introduction, but I encourage you to read all about his significant contributions and accomplishments at consumerman.com. That's consumerman.com, and with links from our website as well at becu.org. Herb has been extremely generous in supporting BECU member protection over the years, and again, very thankful that he's agreed to come and support us today and share some information and wisdom. So, with that, please join me in welcoming Herb to the virtual stage.
Thank you, Sean. And hello, Robin. And I want to thank you at BECU. You've been really great at trying to protect members from all kinds of things and informing them. I'm a contributing editor at checkbook.org, and we have a partnership with you now that you publish a lot of my articles online. And I just know one of the great things about BECU is trying to make members smarter and look out for them. And I want to tell you how much somebody in the consumer protection field appreciates it when a business entity feels that way about their customers and their members. So thank you very, very much. As Sean said, I've been doing this a long time. As a matter of fact, I just went into my Consumer Man archives, and you know those obnoxious robocalls that everybody gets right now telling them that their car warranty is expired even when they don't have a car warranty expiring. Well, I first report on it when they sent it out via snail mail, the old-fashioned way, the postcard that used to go out to people to do the scam. And the Publishers Clearinghouse one that now comes either via email or text message or social media. Congratulations, you just won the Big Bucks prize. Here's one of the versions, the old snail mail version that came out in 2008. So while there are some new scams, a lot of the scams are really old scams that have been successful and they've just been repackaged in a digital age. It's the pitch, it's the what they're trying to do, it's how they're trying to manipulate you that really hasn't changed. They're very, very good at what's called social engineering. They know how to push your buttons and get you to do things what they want you to do. So let me see if I can make this work. I'm going to start my PowerPoint presentation and share. ECU. Slideshow and in front of it. Okay, so, and Sean, okay, I assume you can see the whole thing full. Okay, so that is that's me, and this is what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about fraud, and it comes in all different varieties. You are being attacked constantly, 24/7. Any mode of and means of communication humanly possible, they're out to get you. That's online. That's text messages, that's email, that's social media. And yes, they still use the telephone. Hey, Sean, can you nod your head? Is that full screen? Are you seeing this? Okay. Okay, good. And there's my little bandito over there. So social media. That's where a lot of the action is, because the criminals go where the action is, where the people are, the eyeballs are. So social media represents 25% of all fraud losses reported to the Federal Trade Commission in 2021. They estimated at $770 million, resulting in scams. It started with a social media ad or a post or message. That is like the tip of the iceberg, because most people never even bother to report it. But that just gives you some idea. I think the percentage is what's the key. 25% now of all fraud losses start with social media. More than 95,000 people told the FTC they lost money in a scam involving social media. That's double the number from 2020. Again, I think that's a very, very low number, but the percentage, the doubling, is what's significant. This is clearly a growth area for the fraudsters. Social media was far more profitable to scammers in I got to move my little thing here. In 2021 than it was the year before. The big areas are romance scams are one of the biggest. That's the second most costly scam. And more than a third of victims said it began on Facebook or Instagram. Now, here's how things have changed. Romance scams have been around since the internet started. I'm in love with you, but I'm out of the country. I'm on an oil rig. Please send me money. My dog is sick. I want to come see you, whatever it is. Well, now, instead of the Lonely Hearts Club thing, it's now you get this relationship online, and as long as I live, I will never understand how anybody can fall in love with somebody online, never meeting them, but they tell me it happens every day. And this person now is a investor in cryptocurrency, or some financial genius, and he's overseas and he's doing his thing. And I want to let you cash in on the action. So there's no need for you to wait until I come back. I'm going to set you up with your own crypto account, and you're going to start making all this money. So when I finally get together with you, we finally meet, we're going to have a lot more money. We're going to be able to run away and have a time of a lifetime. Well, you know what it is. It's really a con artist, but that's how it's manipulated, from send me money to I'm going to get you in the crypto world or an investment opportunity. We're going to make a lot of money together. The bottom line is you're sending money in one way, shape, or another. Investment scams are the number one type of scam on social media, and 54% of the people who reported a loss in 2021 said it was to an investment scam, and the scam started on social media. That's according to the Federal Trade Commission. In many cases, this has to deal with cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is used in many fashions. There's the cryptocurrency scam, which is you're going to invest in crypto, make a lot of money. Then there's also the scams that involve paying in cryptocurrency. So congratulations, you just won the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes. But in order to get the money, you've got to send us cryptocurrency, because we've got to pay taxes and license fees and all that kind of stuff. So again, criminals like ways to be not traced when they get money. That's why they like wire transfers. They like gift cards. Go up, buy a bunch of gift cards and give us the number off the back of the gift card. And they like cryptocurrency, and they like peer-to-peer apps, because all that is instantaneous, basically irreversible, and non-traceable. So when someone requires you to pay in one of those mediums, then you know there's something to be concerned about. So I want to show you this. This is an actual text message from a victim I spoke to, who again was one of these people who, this is the Bitcoin scam where we're going to get you to be a crypto investor. And she got this text message out of the blue that this guy's looking for inspiring internet entrepreneurs to build a stable and steady source of passive income through Bitcoin mining. And if you're interested, we're ready to have you go to town. And then what she got was this page, which said, look at this return. You only have to invest $300 to get back $6,700, $400 to get back $8,500, $500 to get back $10,000. And I guarantee you are making that amazing profit daily. Well, if you don't see red flags in this, you're colorblind, I guess. But and it's not an investment. You're paying. You're giving somebody money, and they're guaranteeing you these phenomenal returns. Nobody in an investment world can guarantee you returns, and certainly not something like that. Put in $500 and get $10,000 back within a day. But there are people falling for this sort of thing right and left, because for some reason, and I don't understand the psychological reason why, people believe what comes in either by text message on the internet or social media. They think there's like this, I don't know, this gigantic truth filter out there or something on the internet, and it couldn't possibly be false. It came into my text message system. No, there's every bit as many bad things happening in the digital world as there is in the analog world. But this kind of thing has appealed to people, and what it usually appeals to are people who are down and out on their luck. They got to give it one last shot. So somehow they scrape together the $300. They don't pay their rent. They don't. They borrow from their friends. They get a payday loan, whatever it is, because they know they're going to hit it rich if they just come up with that $300 or $400 or $500. And then, of course, they find out they've been taken, and now they're even in worse shape than they were before they dealt with a con artist. Believe it or not, even though you're in the digital world, most fraud still takes place on the phone. A robocall designed to scare you into responding without thinking about it. Why is this? Well, especially during the pandemic, robocalls dropped because the people were at the call centers. If you responded, were all out with COVID. And then as they came back to the call centers, the robocall traffic is dramatically going up again. Why? Because people are at home. People answer their phones. A lot of times they answer their phones, especially if you're calling a cell phone number. People tend to do that a lot. And they can make a really good appeal. They can sound like anything they want to sound. They can sound like the sheriff at your local sheriff's department. They can sound like the IRS. They can sound like your grandkid calling from Canada. They just busted me, Grandma, and I had marijuana, and I need you to wire me money right away. Please don't tell Mom. And that's the grandkid scam that's going around, so popular. I think I reported on that 25 years ago. So it shows you that an old scam is a good scam as far as the con artists are concerned. But that's why the phone is still an area of concern. Let's go through some of the basics of identity theft. And some of this, for people who work at BECU, you may not already know this, and even some of our audience, you may know this. My goal here is to share this information with people who may not know it. If you have a loved one, a parent, an older parent or a grandparent or someone like that who may not be up to speed on all this, sit down and talk to them and share all this information with them, because maybe a little bit of education can prevent the situation where they find themselves having lost a lot of money. And I've talked to seniors who've lost over $100,000 to a really good con, wiped them out, totally wiped out their entire savings account. So it would be good to just share some of this information. All right, the biggest fraud threats online are phishing and smishing scams, the biggest fraud threats out there. See, why do they make a word like that? Smishing is phishing, but it's done with a text message. And why are they moving from phishing to that other word? And that's because people tend to respond instantaneously to text messages. We always have our phones with us for some reason. Again, we figure we got to deal with it right away. It's harder to see the screen. You don't see all the little small print. You're not really sure what the link is, especially if it's some kind of shortened URL. So they found out that by moving to the text world, they're getting a lot greater success. Now, when I got this is a phishing attack. When I got this email, I knew it was that was not for me. I knew that was just a shotgun approach. They sent this out, obviously came from Asia, and that's the approach they take. They send it out all out to everybody. People say to me, well, how did they know I had a BECU account when they got the phishing? They don't. They just send it out. I mean, in some cases they may have, if you're part of a hack, but they don't know you have a Chase account or a BECU account or a Wells Fargo account or a Verizon account they just send these things out. And if you get it, you assume that they knew it was me, and we plug that our own situation in and assume it was meant to come to us. But what if you get something like that? Is that bogus, or is that for real? Got the copyright at the bottom. Look, chase.com. How about this one? Federal Express. It's got their package. It's got their logo. What about that? It's got the little attachment, FedEx. Well, what these are two doing, and I got both of these. These are the kind that are designed to get you to do one of two things. Either click on to verify your identity, give them information. If you click on the link, it will either A, load malicious software into your computer, so everything you do, the criminals will know about, or B, they will take you to a bogus website. In this case, it would look like Chase Bank, or it would look like Federal Express, and they would try to harvest your personal information. Hey, thanks for logging on to Federal Express. Thanks for coming to Chase Bank. We need to verify your credentials. Please provide your credentials. You never do that unless you're the one who started by logging on to the website. So if you get email, you never, ever provide your personal information. With the FedEx one, if you download that attachment, what will happen there is that will load malicious software into your computer secretly, silently, and everything you do, the criminals will be aware of. So let's start with a new way of dealing with online security. Everybody talks about protecting yourself, and we will talk a little bit about that. But I got to tell you, the folks in the cyber world will tell you this reality. Your sensitive personal information has already been stolen many, many times, and it's already out there on the dark web. So you've got to start acting accordingly. You've got to assume that your information has already been hacked, your information is already out there, already being bought and sold by criminals on the dark web, and act accordingly. And if you haven't been a victim yet, you know why it is? Because they got so much stuff they haven't gotten to you yet. That's basically the bottom line. So this is the new reality that everybody needs to realize. So what are they going to do with this information that they get from you? They're going to take over your accounts. They're very lucrative. They can wipe out and steal all your money or start charging things on your credit card. They're going to steal government benefits. We all know about that and what happened during the money that came out in Washington State and from the federal government during the COVID situation. They're going to commit crimes. Sometimes they will. This is one of the worst types of identity fraud, where they will pretend to be you, get driver's licenses or a social security card in your name. That's one of the hardest ones to deal with. I once spoke to a woman who they literally became her, committed a crime, and for the rest of her life, she was pulled over by a cop, frisked, handcuffed, and taken to the police station, and now has to carry a notice from the DA and the police chief saying, I'm a victim of identity theft, and I'm not Susan Jones who committed the felony. I'm Susan Jones, me. So that's the extent of how bad identity theft can happen. And then, of course, they can open up new accounts. They can take all your personal information, open up a brand new BECU account or a credit card account or whatever, and then they can start charging up things. And then when they're all done, they don't pay the bill. And then, of course, it ruins your credit account because they opened it basically up on your name with your social security number. A real serious area, and I actually wrote an article on this for the BECU blog, is child identity theft. A lot of parents and grandparents assume, or guardians, well, I got nothing to worry about with my kids because they have no assets. The bad guys don't care about assets when it comes to child identity theft. They care about getting a clean record and a clean social security number, because kids have to have social security numbers now when they leave the hospital. 1.2 million kids had their identity stolen last year. It's been that way for about the last 10 years now. It's a very, very serious crime. And what they do is they get the social security number. They open a synthetic account with that number. So they open it, maybe it would be, Herb Weisbaum, and it would be my social security number, and they would change the address. And so that all the information, when they open a checking account or open a bank account or whatever, comes to them instead of me. When they open the account, these things aren't checked. A Verizon account, a Comcast account, or whatever, they don't check that it's a valid social security number. That's it. They work with that. So they're able to do all this kind of stuff. And in most cases, nobody's checking to see if there's a problem, and so they're good to go for years and years and years until they either bust out the account and totally blow out all the credit cards, or something happens. The poor kid or the family finds out when they're about to apply for a car loan or open the first credit card or get a student loan or something like that, and they have no credit and they have all this bad credit history, and that's when they find out about it. For any parents, guardians, or grandparents listening, there are a few warning signs. First of all, if this minor gets something that should not come to a minor, if they get a jury summons, if they get a parking ticket, if they get credit card applications, if they get calls, collection notices, or collection letters, that's a warning sign. Don't assume it's a mistake. Somebody just screwed up a mailing list or something. That could be the first warning sign that someone has stolen that child's identity, and you need to pursue it and find out what's going on. One of the ways that you can protect your kids and you can protect yourself, and if you haven't done this, please put a sticky thing on your head and say, do this as soon as Herb is done his speech. Credit freeze. Put a credit freeze on all of your accounts, anybody in the family, including kids. It is now possible to freeze the accounts of these minors so they can't become victimized by child identity theft. It takes a little bit more work. You have to prove you're the parent or the guardian, which is what we want that to be able to prove this stuff so the criminals can't do it. But it's something that you can do, and it's certainly worth the time. You do that at all three credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, because you're not sure which one the bad guys might hit or which ones the creditors may use. So you want to lock that up at all three of the big three credit bureaus. What does the freeze do? It blocks access to your credit file at that credit bureau without the required PIN. You got to have a PIN or you can't access the account. So that means if you're going to apply for a credit card or you want to get a Comcast account or a Verizon account or a T-Mobile account, maybe a rent, they can't check your credit. They can't check your credit file because it's locked. The only people get in it was with a PIN. It's free. You can temporarily thaw to apply for credit. Does not hurt your credit score. A lot of people think this does not hurt your credit score. It does not, and it does not impact any relationship you have with your current creditors. It just keeps criminals from getting into your file to do bad things with it. A few things. It's not only is it free, but you can now do it thawed and unthawed. It used to be as many times you have to pay for. You can do it once every so many times. It's free. You do it back and forth. They've extended it now to I don't know, for a long, long time. So you don't have to worry about that. The temporary thaw is a piece of cake. You can do it online. You can do it on an app. When I bought my car a couple of years ago, my credit was frozen. I went to the finance manager and I said, "Who do you check with?" He said, "We check with," he picked one of the big three. I don't know which one he said. I went online. I unfroze my account. I did it for 48 hours. So I didn't forget it. It automatically relocked itself in 48 hours. He did my credit check. I got the car. Everything was fine. Blocking access. My wife, I wanted to get on my wife's account at BECU, the checking account, add myself as a co-signer. I figured that would be a smart thing to do. So she went down to the branch in Bellevue and she said, "I want to put my husband on the account." And they asked for the information. And she calls me up and she says, "Herb, they're not going to put you on the account. I don't understand why." And I said, "Well, that's strange." And then I went, ding, I got a credit freeze on my account. They can't check me out. It blocked me out. Yeah, that was exactly what I wanted it to do, because I could have been a criminal trying to get it in my account and the PIN and blocked it. So that's the value of having a credit freeze on your account, everybody in the family's account. It doesn't take more than a couple minutes to set it up. Just make sure you put that PIN in a secure place. And I'm telling you, it is the only proactive thing that you can do to stop the criminals from using your information. Everything is mostly chasing the horse out if it's out of the barn. This stops the horse from getting out of the barn. It's really, really powerful. And I really hope you wind up doing this. You can do what's called a credit lock. A lot of different institutions offer this. No offense to BECU if you do offer this, but a credit freeze is better than a credit lock because the credit lock is unregulated. And the credit freeze is regulated by the federal government. So we consumers believe it's better to go with something that's federally regulated. You will also, from some institutions, get marketing material by doing the lock. You will not get the marketing material from doing the credit freeze. Anything's better than nothing, but we advise at Checkbook the credit freeze. Something else you can do, go into your account and set security alerts to let you know in real time if something is going on. Because the number one thing with dealing with identity theft, once you become victimized, is to be aware of it, because the faster you deal with it, the faster you can solve the problem and hopefully avoid more damage. Speed is the one way to protect yourself from even more damage. The longer they have to use your information, the more damage they can do and the more cleanup work you have to do. So here's one that I went to. You can get either emails or texts, some cases maybe phone calls. What do you want to know? In my account, I set it up to know anytime there's a foreign transaction. I don't do foreign transactions. If there's a foreign transaction, somebody's probably broken into my account. I don't wire foreign transactions. I want to know every single time there's a transaction on my credit cards when it's the card not present, because that's what the criminals are doing. They're getting these stolen credit card numbers and then buying things online. Why? Because the chip card has worked so well that they can't commit fraud in most cases at point of sale anymore. The chip card really did what it was supposed to do, and it forced this fraud, as we said it would, to the online world. So I want to know instantaneously if someone is using that credit card number online. I want to know if money's coming out of an ATM instantaneously. So I get a text message. My wife, we're going away. My wife went to pull the money out of the ATM. Bingo, I got not that I'm tracking my wife, we have a joint account, but I knew right away how much was taken out, and then it was taken out. So that's the thing. You can get low balance things. You can get all kinds of alerts, a debit card transaction, whatever it is, but that's how to know in real time. You should set this up on every one of your bank and savings accounts and every one of your credit card accounts. It's, again, real easy to do. They give you a list, and it's one way to know right away if something has happened to your account. We all have way too many passwords. I checked when I did my story on password managers. I had 250 separate passwords. Because you're supposed to use a unique password on every account. There is no way in the world this little brain of mine can remember 250 passwords. I could if it was 123 ABC or ABC 123, which is what a lot of people use, or password, or let me in, or the name of their sports team, or the name of their dog, or anything else that somebody could find out on social media. But you want a big, long, strong password. The rules keep changing. It used to be at least 6 or 8 things. Most places require you to have 8. Most security people are saying 10 to 15. If you have a password manager, you can have 20. That way it would take somebody a lifetime to break in. It'll generate the password for you as you see, and then it saves the password for you. So you don't have to worry about remembering. So you can have a unique password on every single account. Because if you put a really lousy password on your credit union account, and you use that same lousy password on your PTA account, which doesn't have a lot of good security, and the bad guys break into your PTA account because they know it doesn't have good security, then they have algorithms that continue to run and try it on everything of yours, and they'll get into your credit union account or your checkbook account or your credit card account or whatever, because that's what these algorithms are processed to do. And if you think that by having a clever password like ABC123 and putting an exclamation mark at the end. I did an interview with a former cyber criminal. He actually was known as the godfather of internet fraud. He started all the cybersecurity stuff, spent 6.5 years behind bars. And I did a very interesting interview with him. He said, it's not some 400-pound kid in New Jersey eating tricks. They're trying to break into your account anymore. These are criminal enterprise gangs that have powerful algorithms. They can run like 1 million different password combinations in less than an hour. We set it up, we go to sleep, and we come wake up in the morning. It tells us what accounts we can break into. I mean, that's what we're dealing with now. That's the level of sophistication. This let me in ABC123. I mean, and that, don't even put a password on it if that's what you're going to do with your account. So we've got to take this much, much more seriously. By the way, a little plug, a little shout out. If you're interested in hearing what this guy had to say, his name is Brett Johnson. He's now a consultant with the FBI. He's the Frank Abagnale, if you know who he is. Catch me if you can. The former Czech guy working with the FBI. Brett is the cyber guy working with the FBI. And if you go to consumerpedia.org, that's Checkbook's podcast, go to, I think it's episode 5. It says a talk with a cyber thief. And Brett will tell you all the things that we do wrong. And maybe even Robin can share this later, all the things that we do wrong that make it so easy for the bad guys to do the kind of things they do to harm us. Final point about a password manager. They're free in most cases, and there are a lot of good ones. If there's Dashplane and Password, there's all kinds of them. And if you go to PC World or Consumer Reports every year, they rate the best password managers for the year. But they all do a really, really good job. Everything on that password manager is encrypted. You are the only one that has the key to open the password manager. Even the password manager people don't have the key to open it. So you better put that key aside safely to make sure you have it. And that means if they get hacked, then there's never been a case of a problem with password managers yet, and anything's possible in this world. But if they hack that password manager, all they get is highly encrypted gibberish. They don't get your password numbers. But now if you go up a grade and pay a few dollars a month, which is what I decided to do, you can then have that information with you on all of your platforms. So you can have it on your cell phone, you can have it on your laptop. So wherever you go, whatever you do, you can have those passwords with you. Does it come in handy? Well, I had a very important blood test that was taken a couple of months ago. I was downtown, and all of a sudden I got the email from Virginia Mason, your lab tests are done. I was downtown, but I had my cell phone and I had Keeper, my password manager, on my phone. I was able to get in and see that everything was fine and not have to worry for 3 hours because I was able to access that blood test report as opposed to waiting till I got home with my password manager. So that's the value of having your password manager on multiple platforms. All right. Multiple factor authentication. I am sure that those are words that Sean and Robin go to sleep with every night. 2FA, MFA. What does that mean? It basically means you have to use a password plus some kind of proof in order to get access. The assumption is proof that only you can have and not the criminal can have. It could be a token. It could be a code that you get on your phone. It could be a code that you get on your email, a code that you get on your text message, something that the criminals should not have. Yes, there are ways that they can steal this stuff, and every once in a while they do that kind of thing. But let me tell you, this really, really works well. I got this from somebody who will remain nameless, but a top cyber guy at Microsoft years ago when I did a story on MFA. And he said to me, Herb, the worst password with MFA is better than the best password without MFA. Take that to the cleaners. The worst password with MFA is better than the best password without it, because that's how effective two-factor and multi-factor authentication is stopping the criminals. So please set that up. Most financial accounts allow you to do it. Again, it's real easy to do. And please don't ever share that information with anybody. You know, if you get it, those of you who have it already set up, it says, don't share this information. Nobody will ever ask you for this password. Now the criminals are calling, pretending to be, if they've somehow hacked your account, they're pretending to be your financial institution or your credit card, and they need you just to verify the text message they just sent you. When it says don't share that with anybody, it means don't share that with anybody. You never give that out to anybody who calls or tries to communicate with you, only when it says, we're going to send you the code, and then give it the code. I mean, these guys are really good at coming up with excuses as to why you have to break the security protocols. All right, credit monitoring. When I do these speeches, I'm always asked about credit monitoring. Credit monitoring costs money, I don't know, $25, $35, $40 a month. It only looks for sign of fraudulent activity, so it doesn't do what a credit freeze does. It's not a replacement for a credit freeze. It doesn't stop the fraud. It only shows you when there's activity going on. What do I tell people? If you have the money and you want to spend the money a month and it makes you feel better and it gives you peace of mind, then go ahead and do it. But just keep in mind, it cannot stop identity theft. And what bothers me more about some of these services is the over-the-top advertising that indicates what they can do for you when they can't. So it cannot stop identity theft. It cannot remove personal information from the dark web, even if they find it on the dark web. And in most cases, those dark websites are behind passwords. So they won't even find if your information is stolen, but they can't remove it even if they find it. So that's one of those hype advertising claims. It doesn't mean anything. They don't monitor for everything. And they always have this $1 million guarantee. If there's some kind of problem, we'll pay you $1 million. Most identity fraud does not involve you losing money. It involves the institution, the financial institution, losing money, and you losing time putting all your accounts back together again. If I have my credit card account hacked, if I have my BECU account hacked, the institution eats that fraud loss, not me. So where's this $1 million going to go? It's one of those things that sounds really, really good, but it's not a reason to get credit monitoring. So again, if it's free, you know, we've all been hacked so many times. Most of us should probably have free credit monitoring by now. Take advantage of the 1 year or 2 year free credit monitoring that you get from one of these hacked companies. Just don't sign up for all the other stuff they try to sell you every single time you log on. They try to upsell you to get more protection. Just take the basic protection and then run with it. All right, just a final few things, then I'm going to open it up to questions and be happy to answer anything that's on your mind. So be proactive. Here are things you can do. Get your credit card, annualcreditreport.com. It used to be you get it once every 12 months. Because of the pandemic, you can now get it once a week. You don't have to get it once a week unless you have some kind of problem, but you're dealing with. Get it. Look at the accounts, see if there's something on there you didn't set up, seeing if there's a court action against you didn't have, that there are late notices that you're paying your bills on time. That is the first indication that somebody is playing around with your accounts and that you're a victim of identity theft. Do it at all three bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Only place you get this, annualcreditreport.com. Don't Google free credit report. You'll wind up on some scam website. Annualcreditreport.com is the only place to go. It was set up by the feds to make it easy for you to get your credit report. Check your financial accounts. I hear people say you should check your online accounts every week. I mean, I'm pretty secure and I do it once a month. You can do it more if you want, but just take a check. See if there's anything there that's wrong. Mistakes happen. It could be an honest mistake. It could be fraud. Check your accounts and just make sure everything's okay. check your medical billing statements. This is one that you probably only hear from me because this was a tip shared to me from a fraud expert. You know, the things we get every month and it says, this is not a bill, and it shows everything from your insurance company, and then we totally ignore it because it says this is not a bill. Well, that's coming from your insurance company telling you the claims they paid out during the course of a month. Just skim it and make sure there's nothing there that's bogus. If you see that your insurance company paid a claim for your kidney being removed and you still have 2 kidneys, or you saw that you had a tonsillectomy in Cleveland and you live in Seattle, or you ordered all these drugs in Chicago and you live in Seattle, something is wrong. Somebody is stealing your identity for medical identity theft. One of the most lucrative forms of identity theft that are on the web right now that people are doing. They get your information, they get medical services for them. They get OxyContin, they get like all this home equipment like wheelchairs and resell them, all kinds of stuff. So you need to be careful about that. Check that medical billing statement, just skim it for anything that's wrong. And then monitor your credit scores. I'm at an age now where I'm not applying for credit. I probably won't apply for credit, but I realize that in many cases, credit has a lot to do with other things in life. Insurance companies can base your premiums on your credit score. Your interest rate can be based on your credit score. I use it as a fraud fighter. If I'm cruising along at 750, got great credit, and all of a sudden, for no reason whatsoever, I got down to 650 and nothing changed in my life, that means something happened. Maybe somebody got a hold of my information, ran up a credit card bill and maxed me out, or didn't make a payment, or something like that. So I use my credit scores. I check them every month. I use that as a fraud fighting tool to know if something's going wrong. It's just one more in your toolkit of finding something, because again, the sooner you find it, the better off you are. A few tips for living in a digital world. Be skeptical, question everything. Everything can be faked. Images can be faked, audio can be faked, logos can be faked, websites can be faked, everything can be faked, and looks can be deceiving, and you may not realize it. In the old days, we said, oh, phishing email will have typographical errors and syntax errors. Nah, they don't anymore. They look just like the real thing. You got to look at what the pitch is and what they're asking you to do. I always tell kids when I speak to young kids who grew up in the digital age, there's no undo button in the digital age. You click send, submit, and you just gave the criminal your credit card number. You just gave him your social security number. You just gave him whatever they asked you for. You can't say, oh my God, I just got taken, undo it. You know, I first started this, I do a story on TV and somebody called me up and said, thank you, Mr. Weisbaum. I just wrote a check for $10,000 to this oil and gas investment opportunity, and I'll either go to the mailbox and get it, or I'll do a stop payment on the check. Can't do that anymore. You Zelle them money, it's gone. You Venmo money, it's gone. You give them the numbers off the back of a credit card, off the back of a gift card, it's gone. So you got to think before you act. So those are the things, you know, if you stop, you think, you slow down. Robin said it's easy, but it's easy if you take the time to do it. And security takes time to check the URL. Where's that email coming? Where's that link taking me? What are they trying to get me to do here? It takes time in this busy world. But you know what? If you slow down a little bit, you're going to be more secure. We said that when the chip cards came out. Yes, it's going to slow the transaction at the supermarket down for 2 seconds. You know how long it's going to take you to unwind this thing if somebody gets a hold of your credit card and they start running up charges? Hours. So we've got to do that cost-benefit analysis. A little bit of time, set up the credit freeze. The back end is a lot of time dealing with a problem after the fact. And that's basically how security works, all kinds of security. As Robin mentioned, and as Sean mentioned, I have my own website, consumerman.com, where I basically post my things from KNWN radio, the old Como radio, and also from Checkbook. And I have some other things there. I also have Life Smarts that I do for the National Consumers League, which is really good information for kids. If you have kids in the family, they can find the place there. You can also sign up for my weekly, right here, you can see my weekly newsletter. It is free. I don't share the mailing list with anybody but my dog, Sam. And he has promised he won't give it to anybody, but it's just a way to proactively keep up to date with what's going on. And then, as we said, I now host the Consumerpedia podcast. It's an every other week podcast from checkbook.org. A lot of really useful information. Checkbook, if you don't know, we rate services in 7 major cities across the country. So we're the Consumer Reports of services. They rate paint and shingles and siding, and we rate siding and siders and roofers and painters and veterinarians and kennels and orthodontists and dentists and all that kind of stuff. And Seattle is one of the areas, the 7 cities where we actually do those ratings. So it's a great information to get for this area. But Consumerpedia runs down a lot of the stuff that's free to anybody about hiring a painter, cyber crime, how to monitor your credit score, what a credit score is, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's me, the Consumer Man. You'll find me either at consumerman.com or checkbook.org. And Robin, I guess I can take some questions now, right?
That is correct, everyone. Thank you, Herb. It was great, great content. All right, everyone, if you have questions, go ahead and please type them in the Q&A form, and Herb will see your question and he'll go ahead and answer.
Okay.
So please go ahead and do that now if you have questions.
Okay, so this person said, I'm receiving occasional warning from service at PayPal, which is a fake email address, which appears to be PayPal, with warning that is being charged my Amazon account. Yes, there are a lot of fake emails going out, and the problem was, and I'm actually checking about this. I was on a radio show the other day, and somebody actually told me when they hovered over the URL, it actually was PayPal.com. So we're trying to figure out if PayPal is having some kind of problem. So that's the smart thing to do, is hover. But again, when you get this out of the blue notice that something is wrong with your account, you never follow up on the email or text message. You always go onto your account and find out what's going on. These companies are well aware of that, and you can certainly let them know. The best thing you can do is delete it. But yes, we are looking into if there's something going on with PayPal and why the URL says PayPal.com. There's all kind of hacks that can take place and all that kind of thing. So while hovering over the URL is good, and sometimes it's really obvious, I got that one that I showed you from Federal Express. I think it said bobslattes@gmail.com or something. I mean, obviously I'm not getting an email from Federal Express at bobslatte@gmail.com or something like that. But we will look into that, and thank you. But the smart thing you did is just contact the account, and they'll let you know what's going on. What happens is you are actually, Deidre, you are actually creating it and then free time. So they have a form all in place. If you go to the big three credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, and basically say, how do I freeze an account for a minor? They have the whole process in place. You will have to snail mail the information to prove that you're the parent or guardian and about the kid, but they're set up to do this. In the old days, you couldn't do it. And basically, they were told, like the federal regulators said, figure out a way to do this. So they did figure out a way to do this. So it's something that can be done, and strongly advised to do that sort of thing. All right, Anonymous, another question from Anonymous. If a credit card number keeps getting stolen even after changing the number, what advice would you give? Or do you think the breach is, well, you can, there's a lot of questions. If it keeps getting stolen, the question is it getting stolen from the same place you're using it? Or is there something in your computer where you have malware in your computer if you're doing online and they're stealing it from your computer? The other question would be, you could use virtual credit card numbers, which, Sean, nod your head. I assume BECU allows you to do virtual credit card numbers. And I'm sure, is that right, Sean? Can you do virtual credit card numbers at BECU?
I will have to double check on that one. I don't
Okay.
know.
Maybe I know a lot of the credit cards allow you to do, through the credit card company, allow you to do virtual credit card numbers. That should be, but I might want to try to backtrack and try to find out how that credit card number is getting stolen so soon. Is it somebody, I hate to say this, is it somebody in the family, somebody who has access in your house? You're leaving the credit card around somewhere? Is it the same retailer? Maybe try to find out something like that, but and maybe I call the credit card company and say, this has happened more than once, call their fraud department and ask them. One other advice is, there's a great resource that everybody should have. It's called the Identity Theft Resource Center. And it's in San Diego. It was set up by a husband and wife years and years ago who both were victims of identity theft, and it's free. And they will talk to you on the phone or answer your questions. Maybe you want to contact them and see if they have some suggestions. Identity Theft Resource Center. It's an ORG. And just Google Identity Theft Resource Center and you can find them, and they could possibly answer your question and give you better advice than I just gave you. And anybody who has got questions about identity theft or has a problem, if you're ever a victim of identity theft, and I hope you're not, go right there. That's what they're there for, to help anybody who's a victim of identity theft get their lives back together again very, very quickly. Okay. Oh, Angela, you're very welcome, and I'm I'm glad you did that. Nancy, can you give names of reputable password manager sites? Well, Dashlane is one. Keeper is one. what I would suggest doing is, because the ratings change every year, just go to PCWorld, or go to Consumer Reports or CNET, and every year they rate the password managers, and one of the things they do is they rate them for ease of use. And it all depends on how, what I would like to use, and what my wife might like to use, or my sister-in-law might like to use. We have different levels of knowledge on using computers. So some of them are easy to use than others. So if you go to CNET or Consumer Reports or PC Magazine, they rate them for not only, they're all secure, and a lot of them just have to do with the ease of use and the functionality. And again, you can try them out. Almost every one of them lets you use them for free. You can see how you like them. Start out with a few passwords, and then if you like it and want to do the pay, you can pay, and then take it with you everywhere. The other thing that's really cool is they let you create passwords. So they will say, "Do you want us to create a password for you?" And they ask you, depending on the requirements of the website, can we have numbers, letters, symbols? How many words, letters can it be? What do you want to do? And they'll create it for you, then save it, and they'll also create new ones if you decide for some reason that you want to create a new password. That used to be the big thing. I don't know, Sean, what you're telling people. When I started this, it was like, you got to change your password every 90 days. And the company used to make you change your password every 90 days. And what they would find out is somebody put a pound sign at the end of their password, which doesn't add to security at all. The word I get from Cybersecurity Extra right now is you'd be better off getting a really, really long and strong password, 20 characters, every, upper, lower, numbers, letters, symbol, the whole routine, and using a password manager to protect it and make it unique for every website, than it is going in there, going ABC 1, 2, 3, 5, ABC, that just doesn't work anymore. So the goal is to have a very long and strong password and only use it on one site. If you do that, you should be okay, unless there's a problem. All right, James, thank you. A true MFA application like Google Authenticator or MS Authenticator is far superior than any SMS text authenticator. Thieves can duplicate a cell phone and have access to MS text. You're right, and that's why I said it's not perfect. For some of my sites, I do have an authenticator that I use, and I have to put my fingerprint into the phone and do that, and get a text message that a code that I have to put in. So when given the option, yes, an authenticator is more secure. Again, if people would only do it, I'd be happy they did it either way, because most people aren't doing it at all. But yes, you are absolutely right. That's just a little bit more secure. Karen, is the password only my iPhone good enough? Here's what the cybersecurity experts say. The password managers that you have on your computer, your iPhone or your Chrome or whatever the browser you have, is good. The problem is, if somebody hacks your account and can get onto your computer, they can get in to your password manager very easily. Odds of that happening are not nearly as great as having good passwords. So yeah, is that better than nothing? Yes. Is it the top level of security, where if they got into your computer and they don't have the password, only you keep somewhere to put into the password manager? Not as good. If you're not guarding Fort Knox, you don't do accounts payable for your company, and you don't need that level of security, absolutely, that's fine. It's better than nothing, but it's not the tip-top level that you could possibly do. So the other thing is, with a password manager, I'm able to share it. Like, I could put that on my wife's devices because I can share it. I'm not sure, like, if somebody has a different phone, if you have an iPhone and somebody else is important to you has a Droid, an Android phone, the password manager will let you put that app on various platforms. Again, if you should need something like that, I'm an executor for several different wills, and God forbid anything's happened to these people, I need to be able to get in their accounts and do stuff. And so it's important for me to have the password manager, so no matter what I have, I'm not locked out. If I were your executor and I couldn't get into your mobile device and it was locked out, I could get into the password manager. Just various things to think about. Well, you got a lot of anonymous attending today. No, I'm just kidding. I was added to my sister's credit debit without my permission because I had been a prior consumer with a local bank, perhaps that used information of my sister. She only wanted my name on the account so I could help her during cancer treatment, but it showed up on my credit debit. Would I be liable if she defaulted past? I'm not an expert on banking regulations, but my assumption is the only way you can get, and anybody, if a BECU can tell me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is the only way it could be added to an account is if they have your social security number. They just can't put your name on the account. They got to know who you are. There could be, 6 Herb Weisbaums. So that was probably done at the time the account was set up. Would I be liable? Whatever, if you're a co-signer on the account, my understanding is you are responsible for anything that happens to that account. So if I were you, I would either get yourself off or check with the financial institution and make sure that, I mean, you probably couldn't be liable to anything more than what happened, but find out from the financial institution what your liability was. But I'm pretty sure that you could not be where you are today unless you provided them with your social security number and other personal information. Robin, does that sound right? Sean, does that sound right?
So, well, Sean can answer that, but really, we have a fraud. BECU has a fraud department. So, if anybody member has any questions regarding the fraud and what they should do, please don't hesitate to call us. We can definitely steer you in the right direction. Sean,
Yeah,
do you agree with
there's
that?
no question that it's cybersecurity and fraud in the financial services is very closely related, and we work very closely with our fraud team to protect member information and help fix problems as they come up. So, yeah, please give us a call immediately if you suspect anything.
James wants to know about a preferred VPN. I don't have a preferred one. My advice is to go back once again because they rate them every single year to CNET, to PC Mag, and to Consumer Reports. Believe it or not, and Sean, I don't know if you're aware of this, all the cybersecurity people I've been talking to at Sophos are less concerned about VPN than they used to be. There's the protocols they say have gotten better at like coffee shops and that kind of thing. Yes, there could be somebody who's sitting there with a stinger or whatever it is to grab your information, but the cost benefit analysis for the criminals, they're doing so well with emails and text messages and hacking your accounts. They don't actually have to sit at a coffee shop with a thing that's sucking up your information anymore. I would always use one when I'm at a hotel or something like that where I don't know what's around. The one concern they have expressed to me about VPNs is that some of these VPNs, and a lot of people don't know this, they're sucking up your personal information and possibly sharing it. So if you're going to use a VPN, and I know Consumer Reports is starting to, as part of their protocol now, when they recommend things, they're actually doing digital security privacy. They've added that to the check, like not that it's just good, but what does it do with your information to let their subscribers know what's going on. But I would just keep that in mind. If you're doing something with a VPN, you may be getting a little bit of level of protection. You don't need it everywhere, but find out, read the privacy policy and find out what of your stuff, if it matters to you, what of your stuff they're sharing or sucking up, because that seems to be the big concern these days with VPNs. Anything? Sean, Robin, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions. I just want to say thank you. The information that you're sharing is gold,
Thank you.
gold, and I hope that our listeners are taking notes and really paying attention to what you're sharing here.
I just want to repeat that. I mean, it really does take a little extra time to be secure. I mean, it's slow. Every time I get that 2FA, I go, and then I go, nope, that's what I want. And you just have to get a different mindset, because the con artists, and I interviewed many years ago, I interviewed a guy who worked in the telephone boiler room, and he admittedly stole more than $1 million from people. And I got him in Seattle in federal court before he was going to be sentenced. And I got him in a room and I talked to him and I said, how could you do this? You stole like savings from like life savings for little old men and little old ladies, and you wiped them out and they're now destitute. And, some seniors, I mean, I hate to say this, but some people are so embarrassed they commit suicide or they become hermits, so they don't do anything. I mean, it's embarrassing to have your life savings lost. And he said, you know what, man? He said, I said, how do you sleep at night? He said, I sleep just fine. I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, my goal is to steal your money and your goal is to keep me from getting it. That's how this game works. He said, I'm a professional, 8 hours a day. I go to work. What do you do when you steal the money? Cocaine, women, sports cars, booze. It's gone as fast as it comes in. There are people in this world who have no conscience whatsoever, absolutely no conscience whatsoever. And those of us who are good have to realize that and take the steps to protect yourselves, because they will victimize you in one way, shape, or another. And sometimes the harm is fairly simple to correct: a stolen credit card number, a stolen debit card number. And sometimes the crime is hard to fix. For instance, I told you about the woman who's got to have the letter from the district attorney and the police chief in her pocket. I also met a teenager who was a victim of identity theft many years ago. Excuse me. And she had her medical identity stolen. And there was a big accident in her high school. and she was going to give blood, and they told her she couldn't give blood because she had AIDS. This girl did not have AIDS. And she said, I don't have AIDS, and I'm a virgin and I don't have AIDS. And they said, yeah, it's on your record here for the Red Cross. And they found out that her medical identity had been stolen, and somebody in another state had used her identity to get treatment for AIDS, and it got into her medical record, and she had to, spend months with her parents getting that out of there. Imagine, if what happens is when they steal your medical records, their information can get commingled with your honest information. So imagine if they had a different blood type, and all of a sudden your blood type got changed on your medical record and you were brought into emergency, and or I don't know, it said you had a kidney removed and you really had two kidneys, but that said you only had one. I mean, this is real stuff. This actually happens. I'm not making, so the crime here is really, really serious, and we just have to all slow down and just ask ourselves. And for anybody watching, if you're not sure, ask somebody. Ask a son, a daughter, a spouse, a kid. Call the BBB, call the fraud department at BCU, call the identity theft fraud hotline. AARP is a fraud watch network. You don't have to be a senior. You don't have to be an AARP member. They got a toll-free number. They will tell you, we've seen this scam. Google the scam, put in, whatever it is, the grandkid scam, all the people who got the money stolen when the kid called up and said, Grandpa, I'm in Chicago, please send me the money. If they had simply hung up and picked up the phone and said, Johnny, are you there? Johnny would have said, yes, Grandpa, I'm here. That was a scam. Everything, a caller ID can be spoofed. Telephone things can be spoofed. Emails can be spoofed. We live in a world where it's really easy for the criminals, and we've got to take time to slow down and defend ourselves against them, because it takes a lot more work on the other side. So it was a pleasure to see you. Thank you. I hope you'll sign up for my newsletter and see my stuff on the BECU blog, because it's really, really good information. If you sign up for my newsletter, you can always send me a note. If you have a question, I'll be happy to answer it for you.
Thanks, Herb. And before everybody punches out, just real quick, a couple things. One is the question about the virtual credit card numbers. One of the good things about being in a kind of a virtual space here is that you have unlimited access to everybody that's behind the scenes. So I was able to ask the question on behalf of whomever asked the question in the audience. And the answer is, thank you for asking. That is a good opportunity for us to tell you that is on our roadmap. We don't have it now, but virtual credit card capability to offer that out is something that is on our roadmap. I don't have a specific timeline to that, but thanks for the question. It helps to energize the fact that our members want it, so that was helpful. And the other thing, I think just to close it out, I will say underscore everything that Herb said, and definitely underscore what Robin said about this being gold. This is very valuable information, and for that reason, I'm not sure if we announced this, but this has been recorded and it's going to be available. So everybody that's listening to my voice right now, tell your friends, tell your neighbor, tell your friends' friends. This is available to you to watch on demand. It's definitely something that is very helpful. And so with that, thank you all. Happy National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And if you got one lesson out of this, take it from Herb, take it from me and Robin. Just take the extra time when you suspect that maybe something's fraudulent or you're being scammed or whatever. You probably are, and so if you just take that extra second, you're definitely more able to be safe online. So
that's a good point, Sean. Trust your gut. Every victim I've talked to said, I had a little thing going off in my head that said this wasn't right. I should have listened to it. Trust your gut. Your gut won't steer you wrong.
I was gonna say even usually the thing that they tell you not to do in the scam is the exact thing you should do. Like don't act now. Well,
right.
You shouldn't act now.
You
should do exactly the exact opposite of what they tell you to do.
Yep.
You'll be safe.
And one last thing, we have free cybersecurity training for anybody that wants to learn about cybersecurity, get more deep dive into it. I put the link in the chat. Please feel free to visit it. BECU is offering it to everyone. All right, all of our members. Thank you very much for coming, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Herb.
Thanks, Herb.
My pleasure.
Bye, everybody.